Welcome to Power User with Crash Long Johnson. That's me. In today's episode, we're looking at part 2 of our transfer Excel data table over to the SharePoint list. In this episode, we're going to be looking at how to establish your automate that's going to be able to take care of transferring that data and writing it to the SharePoint list from your Excel that we have basically showed in the previous episode, having that stored in a SharePoint document library. So with that said, let's get started and jump over to the computer. Now that we're back at the computer, you see that I have Power Automate opened up. I went ahead and created a button flow or automate so that way we can show this illustration. Now, for your instance and many others, what you might want to do is actually utilize what is called a scheduled automate. Now that scheduled automate, you can set the time, the date, when it's actually going to run. So depending on how big, and a lot of times I've done it where it runs overnight, so that way it doesn't affect anything during the day of people utilizing the data inside a Power App that it might be tied to. So but for this example, we're just going to do a button automate, just that way it's easy for illustration and be able to show what it does. What we're going to do is we're going to go and do a new step. And this action is going to be list rows. And it's going to be list rows present in a table, this Excel Online for Business. We're going to go ahead and get our SharePoint location, which is our SharePoint site, Crash Long Johns. We're going to get our document library, which is right here, the CAT2 Transfer Excel. We're going to get our file, which is Excel file received, SBO. And we're going to go ahead and get our table, and we're going to get our table too. I didn't do it with our previous video or example as far as actually naming the table, so you might want to just name the table instead of it being the generic table 1 or 2 that's coming. As far as anything else, there's nothing else in here that we need to take care of for options. So we're going to go ahead and collapse that. We're going to go to a new step. This one, we're going to go ahead and get items. And go get items for SharePoint. I am going to go back real quick, just reminding myself. We're going to go ahead into the list row presence and table. We're going to go in ellipsis and go into settings. We're going to go ahead, turn pagination, and we're just going to do the 5,000. That way I get at least 5,000 row limit. We're going to do for the same for get items too. And we're going to do the pagination and put 5,000. All right, so let's go ahead and again pick our SharePoint site, Crash Long Johns. Our list name is going to be the CAT2 Excel data table. We're not going to do anything in here except we are going to expand out, and we are going to do our filter query. And here's our filter query. So what we're going to do is we need to do the title because we're looking at the title. And EQ that equals, we're going to have a single quote. We're going to get title from the list rows present in a table. That's going to put it into apply to each, which is fine because we need that. And then we're going to close that out also in a single quote. That's all we need there. So we got our get items. Now what's going to take place is we're going to go ahead and minimize that, and we're going to add an action. And we're going to go ahead and do our add an action. We're going to do a condition. And that condition, we're actually going to put in here an expression. The expression is going to be empty, or open close. And we're going to go into dynamic content. We're going to get the body. We're going to adjust that a little bit, so we're going to get rid of the outputs, and we're going to do body. And then replacing this body with value. And we're going to hit OK. We're going to do equals to, and this is going to be expression true. And we're all set there. So now what's going to take place is we're going to do an add an action for the yes, because we want to take care of like, hey, if it is empty, then we're going to need to create that particular item in the row. So we're going to go ahead and create item. It's going to be a SharePoint action, so create item. We're going to get our site. We're going to get our list, which is our Excel data right there. It's going to expand out here. And right now, we're just going to plug and chug in here. So it helps to do the little search for dynamic content. So we've got our title, which we're going to get our title from list rows present in the table. We're going to do location. And we're just going to go down the line, getting everybody matched up from that Excel sheet. And then we got down, we're almost down here to our trail type and down to difficulty. All right, so we got that pulled in. We're going to go ahead and go over here to the no side. So this one is what we're going to be looking at again, is if it is not true. So if it's not equal to true and it becomes no, we also want to do another action for SharePoint. We're going to do update item, SharePoint action. Again, we're going to get our SharePoint site. We're going to get our list name. In this case, for ID, we're going to put in our get items ID. That's going to put it into apply to each, which that's what we want. And same thing here, we want to go ahead and just pair everything up. So title, and then we got location, and we got our writer, and we got our trail name, our trail type, and our difficulty. There we go. All right, so that's all set. So we're all good there. And we're going to go ahead and save this out. So once again, we got our Excel file that we have our table in that has our data. That was basically a copy of what was originally first sent. So that way we're using that as our base. We got our SharePoint list that's created that we're going to load that information into. And we're going to go ahead and now run this automate. So we go manual test, run it, done, going to run through everything. It's going to double check, see what all, which in their case, it all needs to be added because we have nothing in our SharePoint list right now. So it says it's been successful. So let's go to our SharePoint list. And there we go. We see it's all been loaded. Now we do have some empty rows, but we're going to take care of that in our next video of part of the series to be able to show how we're going to take care of that, and then also wrap it all together to show like how you take care of when you get a new file. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for stopping by. Until next time, keep learning.